Hey there, how are you?
Hi there, Jennifer. How are you? Looks
Hi,
like
I'm
we're
good,
live. We've
thanks.
got a few people following us. I'm trying to bring up the Facebook now as well, so
Oh,
that
good.
should work out.
Excellent.
And having a little bit of delay on Facebook. It'll happen.
No problem. Well, it's not a live event without some
Some
technological
difficulty, right?
difficulties. Yeah,
According to
totally.
technical difficulties.
Yep.
But we're here to talk about that new book we wrote.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. Millennials and Gen Z Guide to the Construction Trades. So this is part of the Millennials Guide series, Millennials Guide to Work, Millennials Guide to Management and Leadership. And this one is also educational and vocational related with people who are interested in finding an alternative to sitting behind a desk.
Yes. And let me tell you, construction is never behind a desk. We might be
Absolutely.
behind a table occasionally, but construction's a busy trade, no
Yeah.
matter which trade you choose.
Yeah.
So
So
we're
can you
out in the
introduce
field.
yourself, Karl? Tell people
Yes,
who you are.
my name is Karl Hughes. I'm a 42-year plus veteran of the construction industry. I've been a carpenter for a long time, and it's been fun. It really has. I have to say that some people think that we're not really bright or that we don't have an education. The opposite is true. It's just the way that we get our education is completely different than it is to a traditional college or secondary school education. So it's a little bit different. A
Yeah.
lot of it's hands-on, a lot of it's experience. And so I have to say that if you want to be successful in construction, two things have to become apparent immediately. You're going to have to work hard, and your education never stops. The trades are always changing.
Totally, totally. Yeah. So I come from a different background where I went all the way through school. I'm a psychologist and I study millennials and I work with millennials. And that's where this has been just such an absolutely amazing experience to work with you, Karl. And I have been very pleased that you are very interested in all of my home improvement projects and all of my
Yeah.
small construction activities. But I am so in awe. I've learned so much writing this book, and I'm so in awe of what construction workers do and all of the different varieties of what construction does. And that's the first part of the book, is talking about all the different kinds of opportunities in construction and the different roles that construction plays, and how millennials and young people can find their place doing something they enjoy.
Yes, and truthfully, I say there are many, many different trades, and everybody should pay attention to a city or a project that's happening in their area, any type of project, whether it's a roadway or a building, because it's like a symphony.
Yeah,
It's a number of different people all doing their trade, like people play different instruments in an orchestra, and it comes out of the ground, and all of a sudden there's this amazing building or roadway, and everybody played their part. And maybe you're not the star of the show today, but
yeah,
another time you might be. But it's
right.
really such a well coordinated thing.
Yeah, that's amazing. So the book goes through those construction trades first, and then within each construction trade, it talks about what they do, what kind of skills are needed for that trade, what kinds of training is required, so how long it's going to take you to get to where you're going. And then also, very important, we talk about salary ranges, what a starting salary is likely to be, and then mid-range and high salary. And some of these jobs have some pretty serious salaries, Karl.
Yes, they do. And that's the big secret. The greatest part, though, is you don't start out with college debt. I mean,
Right.
it's something that it's to be considered for real. Not
Yeah,
to discourage anybody from going on to a college or a university.
sure.
That's wonderful, but it's not for everybody.
Yeah,
And yes, it is possible to make a good, successful career without a university degree or without a college degree.
totally.
The trades are one of them, but that doesn't mean you're not going to get an education. It
Yeah,
means you're probably going to work very hard at your education. And what it also means is that as the millennials go along, I've noticed that Generation Z and the millennial generation are afraid to make a commitment to something they think won't work out. I think a
yeah,
lot of them are scared off by the dot-com bust. There was dot-com boom and overnight dot-com bust. And
right.
one of the fears is, will this job be there in 5 or 10 years?
Yep,
And for the construction trades, absolutely. We've been around forever.
yep,
We have changed dramatically since the time of the pyramids, but we were there. And
sure.
what has happened is, actually, the word carpenter comes from chariot maker. Okay. And so the people who did that were entrusted with working with a very precious resource. Our trades have changed over thousands of years. Today's trade is nothing like it was 2,000 years ago, but it's still the same trade, it's still the same
Yeah.
basic ideas. It's a matter of how we accomplish that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
our education is changing along with our talents and along with our requirements.
Yeah.
But it's been a lot of fun. For me, I've noticed it over the years that I've taught and I've been in the trade. It's just been great to look at it all change. Things that used to be so much more difficult are now, oh, that's easy. It comes like that.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. And one of our listeners, Supatora, is asking anything about apprentices. Yes, we are
yes.
absolutely talking about apprenticeships and training and all of the different steps in there. Some of the construction trades do have an apprenticeship. Others, it's called something different. Others, you go right in. Can you say a little bit more about that, Karl?
Well, what I can say, you do need to serve an apprenticeship some way, shape, or form. Certainly within our union structure throughout the country, there are apprenticeships available. There are other means to get into the trade. You can go to trade schools. Some of them charge a fee, just like you would for a secondary school. But one way or another, you're going to have to get an education.
Yeah.
And as you get it, it becomes an opportunity. And it's the type of opportunity that you're not depending on any one particular job, but rather you're depending on a set of skills that are highly marketable in today's society. And the answer to our millennials going forward, will this trade be there in 5 years? Absolutely. And if nothing else, construction in the United States, we're looking at a huge demand for tradesmen, tradeswomen. And the reason for it is we're behind on infrastructure. The youngest bridge in the East River in Manhattan is 110 years old. Sooner or later, they're going to have to renovate that.
Right.
And sooner or later, those bridges will be replaced. So there's always going to be a demand for the tradespeople.
Right. And that's
regardless. I'm sorry.
all over the country. All over the country. There's so much infrastructure to be done. And speaking of lucrative, I wanted to make sure to call out our forward writer, Luke Miller of the Tile Money podcast. He's been working for years in tile and floor setting, and he is just an amazing person who wrote a really lovely forward for the book. And he's talked about how working in tile has given him the opportunity to travel around the world and to build his dream home, and said there's definitely money in construction. If money's what you're worried about, there is money in construction.
Yes,
and
there is.
He's been such a strong supporter of us. So definitely wanted to give him a shout out.
Yes, and I'm glad for that, because here he is. He's in a different part of the trades than I am, but it's all good. The way we look at it, if you don't like doing tiles, don't do tiles.
Right.
If you like being a steam fitter, be a steam fitter. If you don't like that, there are many trades to choose from. It depends on your aptitude and what you really prefer to do. For me, being a carpenter, I'm a 6th generation carpenter. I've been doing carpentry now since, let's just say 1975. And I have loved every minute of it. Really, not every day is a good day, but really every day is a good day. You know, you have a tough day here, there, out in the weather a lot of times. Different trades are outside. But, you know, it's been a great living, and it's the kind of living you can be proud of. I like to say we don't ever really write our resume on a piece of paper. We write it on the skyline.
That's amazing. I love it. I love it. And we talk about all these different trades: boilermaker, drafter, electrician, carpenter, of course, bricklayers, glaziers, painters, roofers, sheet metal workers, surveyors. I'm reading from the list here: telecommunication technicians, project managers, iron workers. There's so many opportunities to be able to do cool things, and again, get paid well and have a really nice, make a really nice living and have a wonderful career where you're constantly learning and building stuff. And that's just amazing.
It's been terrific. And as I'm heading now kind of on a downside of it, after the time I've spent in, I'm not a newbie anymore. And the great thing is that I'm looking forward to a really good retirement when I get that far. And I'm looking that, I do have financial security, which I think is something that's concerning for so many of our younger people. They're worried, what am I going to do in 30 years? Well, if you go into the trades, you can set it up so that you will be very comfortable as you get towards your retirement.
Yeah,
you know,
that's great.
If you work at it.
Yeah. So that's one of the myths about the construction trades, is that there's no money to be made. Another myth is that in order to do well in construction, you have to be a big, burly man. Can you talk about that one?
Once upon a time, maybe, because they needed big guys to beat big nails into boards and carry heavy stuff. But the technology has advanced so far that we're looking for people who are not just big and strong. You're going to need some physical strength, absolutely, but you need brains now too. So the people who can handle the computer side of things, a lot of our young women who come into the trade, they have a knack for that, and they're good at it, and they pay attention to the details, and they find a niche for themselves. Many companies are really enamored of their services because they know the field. They're not afraid to go out in the cold and the dirt and the mess and get their knuckles dirty like anybody else. But then they're the kind of person that can handle some of the paperwork, some of the planning, some of the project management, which there's a huge part of the trade that some
Right.
of the big burly guys are not too good at and don't want to be good at because their strengths are in big burly guys. And
Right.
so there's a great amount of opportunity for a lot of people in the trade. I think the trades have gotten over the idea of man versus woman with the salary cap, pardon me, because women are paid the same amount of money in carpentry or in all the trades really. They're paid the same rate as the men as long as they can do the job.
Yeah. Yeah.
So therefore, that kind of difference in salary goes away for a lot of women.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of them, that's the reason they stayed in it. I
Yeah.
remember years ago, we had a woman, Cynthia, and she joined in, one of the first women to come into the trades 30 something years ago. Great gal, had a great attitude for it. She was here to make a living and did so. And she retired a couple of years ago, raised her kids and her grandkids, took care of everything. That was her purpose of being. And she
Yeah.
did very well for herself. She
That's
never
great.
worked inside. She was always on high-rise concrete jobs. Tough
That's
end of the world.
Yeah, one of our other supporters, Ann McNeil, who is amazing, president and founder of the Association for Black Women in Construction. She is just absolutely amazing and has really opened doors for women in construction, for Black women in construction. And she said, where else can a Black woman make $80 an hour doing what she loves? Like, this is amazing. Like, that's so awesome. So there are definitely opportunities for women, for people of color, for LGBT individuals. There's several. Sandra has talked about Build Out, which is a big group for LGBT individuals in construction. So there's some wonderful opportunities for all kinds of people. One of the other challenges that people bring up, Karl, is that you have to be outside all the time. Can you talk about?
No. See, that was my end of the world. I was often the guy that was the last guy on the job site. I was the guy who finished off all of the little details, the finished work inside, and presented the keys to the new owner and said, your
Ah,
space is now ready. And
uh-huh.
here's your keys. And I would hand over the finished product. And when somebody walks into their new office or their new space, wherever it is that they work, and it's brand new and it sparkles, it really does, because all of it comes together, the project management from the architect who designed it in the first place right to the last little detail, and everything's in place. Then you hand over the keys and there's this beautiful space that somebody thought up that we built.
Yeah.
And yes, look at hundreds of individuals were involved in it. And there you go. It's not always outside. It's sometimes inside. And that was my end of the world. I did
Yeah.
a lot of that. I have to say, I deliberately chose it because I liked it.
Uh-huh.
That's what I wanted to do. Not that
Yeah.
I won't work outside. I've been outside many times. But
Yeah.
it's kind of nice to be the guy saying, here's your keys. Congratulations.
Right.
Here's your new office. Right? It's a
Right. So
really wonderful thing.
there's something for everyone. I mean, there really are lots of different opportunities is what we're talking about. And we went into, in the book, we talk about the kinds of skills and abilities that people need to be successful in the construction trades. And that is really important because sometimes people think, oh, I don't know enough math, or I don't have enough of this or that. We talk about physical ability, where of course you need to be able to use your body, but at the same time, like you mentioned, Karl, everybody doesn't have to be a huge guy. That's okay. And you don't have to be huge or a guy to be able to do this. And other things like reading skills and understanding diagrams and mechanical ability and ability to overcome fears. That's one of my favorite ones.
Yes.
All of these things are important.
It's amazing you find out who's afraid of what. We had a small woman on our job one day, no fear of heights whatsoever. And they put her up in a high lift, and she loved it. She was very comfortable up there, did very well for herself. And, it's a matter of overcoming the fear. And some of the guys weren't comfortable up there, She was okay with it. She worked it out. And I always like to say that construction, they're really focused on production. Mm-hmm. So they're not too interested in your past. It's kind of a good thing for, especially if maybe somebody has a past that's not so good. And it's one place in the world where somebody who has a history, say, with things that didn't go well, can get a restart, try all over again. And nobody's really asking too much about what your personal opinion is, what your status is, whether you're, let me see if I get it right, LGBTQ.
Good job.
Am I right? QT?
Yes.
Okay.
Good job.
Nobody's really asking. Nobody cares. You're there to make a living. And if you're there to make a living, you can do very, very well for yourself.
Yeah.
And that's what's important. And really, I've worked with many women over the years. I've worked with pretty much, you name the race, creed, color, I've worked with them.
Yeah.
And some of them don't even speak English. And it's not that they don't speak Spanish or they speak Spanish. No, it's none of those languages either. But we still manage to get along and do our jobs, and everybody goes home happy at the end of the day. Or I think the main focus for construction, which is becoming more and more prominent, we have the production, but we're also focused on safety now, and that's important.
Yes.
And so I'm really hoping that more and more people recognize the opportunity to say, hey, this could work for me. I don't have to go to college. I don't really want to work in an office. Yeah, I kind of would be interested in learning a trade.
Yeah.
And I think that's huge. It really is.
That's great. And Millennials Guide to the Construction Trades walks you through all of the different components, from choosing the field of construction that makes sense to you, to figuring out how to get started, how to interview for a job, how to start a new job, how to build relationships, how to deal with challenges, how to ask for a raise, how to juggle work and parenting, how to decide when it's time to move on. All of these different things that people will encounter all over any job, and especially targeted toward construction trades, how to help people be successful in the construction trades.
Right. And one of the chapters that I had the most fun writing was the chapter on the values. What do construction people value? Because I think our younger folks, they need to understand that. They have an idea, but they're not sure. But construction workers value punctuality. They value a self-discipline that makes you get there every day.
Yes.
You show up on time, you show up prepared. That's one of the core values of being in the trades. Because if you're not there, well, then we don't need you, because we got to go get somebody else.
Right.
So
right.
That's pointed out. And I think that for a lot of our younger people, it kind of clarifies that for them. Because in many cases, they haven't been focused on that. Not their fault, but now that they see it, then they can say, yeah, I think I could do that. And I really hope a lot more do.
Me too. And I really do love the values section as well, talking about values on the project getting things done, showing up with a positive attitude and just working. And so many jobs are not like that. And so many jobs are focused on where you came from or where your family's from or whatever. In construction, you show up, you can do the work, great, you're hired, get it done.
Exactly.
And that is so refreshing, I think, especially for millennials and young people who feel like they're being judged just for being young, which is unfortunate. That's why I study millennials. That's why I work with millennials.
Right.
But like you're saying, Karl, the field is open. Walk in, come on. If you're willing to work hard, show up and get things done, then we'll take you. It's great.
And tell you the truth, Jennifer, for me, it's great to see a young person start out, and then you meet them again a year later, and they're kind of getting on their feet, and they're pretty comfortable. They're getting the idea. Then you meet them about 5 years down the line, 6 years down the line, and they're not only good at this, they're excelling at this, and they're out there being the guy who's actually running the work. They're really a part of a management team now. They're starting to move up, and they start to realize just how much money they can make. It's not all about the basics. It's when you get to the advanced levels, as people like myself head into that retirement mode, somebody replaces us.
Right.
And the guys and gals that do are the younger guys and gals, depending on who wants to. So that the opportunity for advancement is becoming better and better in construction. Years ago, it wasn't like that. It was only certain people stayed as foremen, and they ran everything. But then they realized there's new skills, and sometimes the younger folks are better with the computers. They're better with the cell phones. They're more familiar with the technology. And so that's a great opportunity for young people to move up.
Yeah.
It gives them such a great leg up on what's going on in the world. Because
absolutely.
My rule on technology, once it comes into play, it never goes away. I mean, computers are here to stay. Let's just face it.
Of course.
Tablet computers, they now have cameras on cranes, just like a backup camera on a car. They're putting these things right on the spot. I see Super Tour saying blueprints on the
Yeah.
iPad. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's not going away. That's forever.
Right.
We're in fact going to see three-dimensional blueprints just like a 3D video game. We're
Yep.
already seeing it. It's
Absolutely.
called building information modeling. And so I think our young people have a huge advantage
Yeah.
that they will be able to be more familiar with it. They grew up on video games. Some of them are actually what they call digital natives now, which
Uh-huh.
is great. And I'm not. And they don't struggle as much as their older counterparts.
Yeah.
They're more familiar with it. And so given their training, their field experience, and their technology support, they've got a great opportunity to make a really good living for themselves. And you don't need that uh, BS, MS, PhD behind your name to do it. I know you have all of those, but that's okay.
That's
That was your choice, and that was a
that's
great
right.
choice.
That's right.
But
Wanted to give a shout out to Jackie Richter, who is the president of Heels and Hard Hats Contracting and Endurance Utility Company. She is amazing. Woman-owned construction company in Chicago, Illinois, and she gave us a wonderful. We very much appreciate her testimonial for the book that really talks about how much her company supports women, LGBT individuals, diversity in the trades, and saying the trades are a great place where anyone who's willing to work hard can make a good living. And that's really what we're talking about, Karl, around the importance of this book to help kids and young people, whether you're kids or whether you're 20 or whether you're in your 30s and want a change in career, help you get into a career that'll be satisfying, that'll make money, and that'll really help you contribute.
I couldn't agree more. I know for a lot of the women that I've met in the trades, this is not their first career. They had another career, they just didn't like it. They decided, okay, I'll give this a try. Some of them maybe might be in a different situation. They have kids to raise, and this pays more than what the previous trade paid or previous occupation. And so, yeah, this is a great deal. It's for me. I honestly have to say, I'm the guy that can kind of look back at it. If anybody wants to know, well, yeah, but how do I know it's going to be good? Look at my career. It's been great. I'll tell you right now, it's been great.
Yeah.
There's no job or no occupation that's not going to come with bumps and lumps in the road. But certainly being in the trades, I highly recommend it for those who want to do it. If you want to work hard, if you want to work at learning stuff, if you want to put in the time and effort, yes, this can be a very rewarding career.
Yeah, absolutely. And another person who provided a testimonial, Mike Mangan, who's a facility manager at Caterpillar in Georgia, talked about how every day when you get up, every piece of technology is there thanks to a construction worker. Your floor, your walls, your ceiling, the hot water for the shower, putting your coffee on, all of that is thanks to construction workers. And construction workers have done amazing things. And he is absolutely a strong supporter of the trades, works with folks in the trades, and encourages young people to consider the trades as a viable career alternative.
Yeah. I have one question for you, though.
Yeah.
What do you think would be the big message for the employers for our millennials?
Oh, that's a great question. Oh, we hear so much negative stuff about millennials, about they're lazy or they're entitled or they don't want to work hard. And, you know, honestly, that has not been my experience at all. And I know that hasn't been your experience either, Karl. And I think for employers who are interested in helping young people move up, I think remembering what it was like to be 20 or 25 and to be figuring your way out, and then to help identify their strengths, help them identify their strengths, and then apply those to the workplace. And I think that's, you know, as someone who writes about work and management and leadership, to me, that's the goal of any manager or leader, is to help your staff or your people or your workers, help them identify the things in themselves that are wonderful and bring those into the workplace. And there's so many opportunities for employers to do that and to help people become successful.
I agree. I really think that the best thing for employers is take care of the millennials. Train them in. Show them what's what, because they have a huge amount of talent. We just haven't recognized all of it. When I started, it was more, shut up, kid, we don't need you. When we want you to think, we'll tell you. And that needs to go away, because actually some of our younger people have some fresh new ideas that somebody else may not have seen already, right? Their abilities with technology are really a big strength that they have, because they're familiar with it. For what they call a baby boomer, those guys, like, okay, well, baby boomers struggle with technology. The millennials don't. It's like riding a bicycle to them. They just jump on and go. You
Right.
know, the thing I would recommend to every employer is that your millennials are your future.
Yeah.
You have to take care of them
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
your baby boomers are going to start to retire in large numbers now. And as our millennials come into the workforce, they are the largest of all of the workforce membership. So
Right.
they're you guys. And they
Yeah.
have talents. They're good. I think that the best thing, once we convince them to make the commitment to that this is a really worthwhile field to get into,
Uh-huh.
we're going to see a lot of millennials doing really, really well in construction.
Yeah.
They're going to bring a whole new dynamic to it because of their abilities with technology.
Right.
I just think that's obvious. It's going to happen.
I agree. And I think the people who, mostly older people who say negative stuff about millennials, I think they often don't see all these strengths that millennials do bring. Their innovation, they're tech savvy, they're curious, they're excited, they really want to make things happen. That's wonderful. Like any employer wants people like that on their
Sure,
team. Yeah.
of course, it makes
Yeah.
such great sense. The way I look at it, when we were that age, we were mixed up a little too. You know, it's a different set of circumstances now because their world is influenced so much by things that we never had. They have
Right.
the internet. They're so quick with the internet. You know, we're all, well, where's the manual for this machine? You know, they
Yeah.
already brought it up on the phone. Say, I got it right here
Right.
because they're
Right.
so familiar with it.
Yeah.
And that's an advantage. And I think if we take care of that, encourage their help, and if we really say, hey, you know what? They'll learn the physical parts of it, they'll learn the skills as we go, but they bring a lot to the table in terms of they're familiar with technology. That's
Yeah.
just such a huge advantage for them.
Yeah.
And as far as them being lazy, no. I think if you catch the right motivation,
Yeah.
you'll find that they're not lazy at all. It's they need to be interested. So they need to be encouraged, as far as I'm concerned, that yes, this is a worthwhile field. Yes, it is worth committing to. And yeah, you'll write your name on the skyline one day too.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for all of you who joined us. Thank you so much, Karl. It's been an absolute pleasure to work with you. It's been amazing. And
It,
Thomas, 2431, and Patricia, Christian, Supator, Union Pride UBC, One Lady 157. Thank you all, and everyone else. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been a real pleasure.
thank you so much. It's been great. And we'll hear good things. More stuff to come, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Millennials Guide to the Construction Trades. It's available on Amazon as a print book and as a Kindle. So you can look at it however you want to look at it while you're on the subway or hanging out in between jobs.
Away we go. All righty.
All right. Thank you
Jennifer,
so
have a
much,
great
Karl.
day.
Thanks, everybody. You
It's
too.
another beautiful day in America. Have a wonderful day.
Absolutely. Yep.
Take care.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.